Hello and welcome to another episode of Threat Update. I'm Kilian Englert, and joining me today is Ryan O'Boyle. Ryan, how's it going?
Hey, Kilian. Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
We have a really scary episode for everybody today. So I know a lot of folks use Salesforce, and we use it as well too. And through some of our research and through some of the things that we're finding, there's actually a little known misconfiguration that was discovered that could potentially expose sensitive Salesforce information through the community module with anybody publicly. Ryan, can you dive into this and kind of let the audience know some of the things that are out there?
Yeah, definitely. I think Salesforce it's a huge service for many organizations, and a lot of times we think about it in the traditional sense of CRM capabilities and supporting the sales in the field. But people tend to forget about a lot of the other great functionality that they use every day on top of Salesforce, like the communities, where we host things like our knowledge base and our documentation and support channels and communication channels. There's a lot of data hosted within an organization's Salesforce tenant. And one of the things that we've identified is that oftentimes this data can be potentially exposed publicly through externally facing APIs. A lot of these APIs are exposed externally by design. This is part of living in the cloud world. We want things to be able to integrate and communicate. So these APIs are intentionally exposed. The real problem is when certain areas of these communities have overexposure on the permission side, actual external identities or even in some cases attackers can query these exposed APIs and get data out. So get data in the form of knowledge base articles, intellectual property, documentation, even things down to email communications and other support channel communications as well. So it's a little bit scary in that regard.
So just so I understand, I'm summarizing, basically with this misconfiguration, if you were to find it in your environment, there is a potential for an external unauthenticated user or attacker potentially to use that to pivot and find information that wasn't exposed publicly inside of Salesforce through this, or wasn't supposed to be exposed publicly, so they can do some recon of the organization and learn about different aspects and extract data. Is that correct?
Exactly. It's like direct data exfiltration through the by design exposed APIs.
So that is a pretty scary misconfiguration. So if somebody's concerned about this, if they have Salesforce in the community module and they want to know if they're at risk, is there a place that they can go or a reference that they can go on to learn more about this?
Definitely. I would first check out the Varonis blog. We have a great article out there on really getting into the details and the specifics on how to evaluate your own Salesforce environment. But really, at the core, thinking about permissions. Bottom line, understanding how permissions are set within these Salesforce communities, where we might have permissions that are a little bit too wide that potentially might allow for these external or anonymous users of this guest access, and then making sure that we understand where that data is located within these Salesforce communities. It's very complex, and I would say very complicated to manage Salesforce permissions in a lot of cases. So we're finding a lot of unintentional overexposure in this regard.
That's a great point, and it's just also worth pointing out too, and I'll let you elaborate on this, that inside of Salesforce, even without the community module, you can set permissions on pretty much anything in there. Correct, Ryan? The objects, the accounts, the opportunities, if you're using it for that. So that's another area that I think folks definitely should probably keep an eye on. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely, and it's a little bit more complicated than just read, modify, create, delete, things like that. We have access to different types of objects, access to different fields within those objects, different types of access within those fields, and they can, be granted these entitlements or get these permissions through a variety of different means: roles, profiles, permission sets, sharing permissions. All these different types of permissions or entitlements that are out there make it really, really complex when it comes to understanding and managing permissions within the Salesforce environment.
Sounds like folks who manage Salesforce have a lot on their plate and a lot to keep in mind going through this to do it securely. So I really appreciate you bringing to light some of those misconfigurations that are out there, as well as some of the complex components around managing Salesforce. So thank you for that, Ryan. It was very enlightening. And thank you all for watching. We really appreciate it. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to the channel or throwing us a like if you're watching. We really appreciate that too. Or maybe even leaving a comment. So thank you again, Ryan. Thank you all for watching. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, all.